What is going on, y'all? It's your boy TooColeSports, and I am here today to finally bring my very first YouTube video, my first full-length video that I have ever done on this page. I know I've done shorts, I've done reels on Instagram, I've done TikTok videos, but I have never taken the time to actually sit down and make a full-length video that wasn't related to just social media content. Like, this is me actually taking the time and making a full-length video breaking down one of my favorite events of the past year that I got to shoot. And this is long overdue. Like, when you see what we're gonna be breaking down today, you're gonna be like, bro, this was months ago. But it's cool, like, it don't matter, like, because the new season hasn't started. Like, if you haven't gotten a hint or the thumbnail doesn't give it away, we're gonna do a football breakdown. Like I said, this is long overdue. This is way long overdue, but hey, better late than never, but never late is better. Let's jump right into it. Most of y'all don't know, if my page doesn't give it away or you literally do not know me in real life, I am in the southeast part of the United States of America. So my proximity is the Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida area. You can throw in Louisiana too. So all major sports events that are in my proximity, if they need a large stadium, especially if it's like football, soccer, anything in that area, the championship game is going to be held inside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And this was my very first time ever going to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, let alone working an event inside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is a blessing in itself, because I never would have thought I would have been able to be on the field, not even working, just being in that stadium with how much NFL tickets cost. Yeah, you can get some good ones. I mean, the Falcons aren't crazy nowadays, but I'm like, just the idea of having the opportunity to work an event, being on the sidelines, and going through that whole experience was just like a dream come true. Never would have even thought of doing something like that, or having a chance to do something like that rather, and we did. So I was able to shoot for the SWAC conference. That's who I've been working with for the past few months. That's going to be another video actually down the line where we are, I don't want to spoil it. I ain't gonna spoil it. We're gonna cross that bridge when we get there. But I was working for the SWAC conference. So this was the Celebration Bowl. And Celebration Bowl is the champions of the SWAC conference versus the champions of the MEAC conference. So I'm representing for the SWAC conference. I was the lead videographer, and my homegirl, she was the lead photographer. It was just the two of us. We banged it out. We killed it. Socials was killing it. We were trending all over Instagram that day, because I think we were like one of the few bowl games that actually played that day. Crazy event. The game was insane. Like, I'm representing SWAC, so I'm obviously rooting for FAMU, because, you know, gotta root for the home team. And that game was crazy. Like, it was back and forth all game. FAMU was losing most of the first half, but like not really losing, but more like shooting themselves in the foot. And then out of nowhere in that third and fourth quarter, really the fourth quarter, I remember telling my homegirl, I was like, yo, like, either this game is finna go into overtime or this fourth quarter is gonna be crazy. Didn't go in overtime, but that fourth quarter was crazy though. Like, no cap. But FAMU ended up winning. The celebration shots that I got at the end of the game were insane. I'm telling you, like I said, this was a dream come true, and this is just only the beginning. Still kind of can't believe that I was able to do that in such a short time of really getting into sports videography after coming over from the TV and, you know, movie side of things, and just really jumping into it head first. But like I said, blessing in disguise, and I took full strides into it as soon as I got the opportunity. So pretty glad about that. But what we're going to do today is break down a couple of my favorite shots from that game that I was able to capture. And I'll leave in the description my rig that I was using, but it was real simple. It wasn't nothing crazy. I was shooting on a Blackmagic Pocket 4K, and I had a 7200 with I can't remember the speed booster that I was using. I want to say, no, it was a Metabones speed booster, micro four thirds to EF, so I could use a Canon 7200 to pair with it, because if you don't know, the Blackmagic Pocket 4K is micro four thirds. It's not really many micro four thirds lenses that's f2.8, which is something I really wanted to shoot in for this event, because if you're a videographer, honestly, if you're a photographer, you know that f2.8 and anything in that range from f2.8 down to 1.4, and then if you really got money, the 1.2s, like that look is just you can't beat it. You can't beat it. But for sports, I always say if you can shoot an f2.8, shoot an f2.8. So that's the rig I was running. Canon 7200 f2.8, Blackmagic Pocket 4K. Can't beat it. I always will say Blackmagic is just like the gold standard for me when it comes to um blurring the lines between cinema and like regular videography. Like obviously I say I'm a sports cinematographer. There's a difference in my eyes than being a cinematographer and a videographer. But enough with the rambling. Let's go ahead and get into these clips that we are going to be breaking down today. So I was in charge of doing the recap for the game, which, like I said, was phenomenal. It did really good on socials. I think we grossed over 100,000 over all our social media platforms when it came to this video alone. Everybody loved it. And we're just gonna jump into the beginning right here. Gonna run it. Not gonna play the whole thing because it was a little bit. It's 3 minutes, but I'm not gonna play the whole thing. Cool. That was just a couple quick little clips from that. That was really just the beginning, first like 30 seconds of it. And even in that little short little piece from the beginning, I really loved a lot of those shots, just like to build up the suspense before we actually got into the game. And you probably saw I used some live clips, like some TV clips from ESPN from the actual game, and blended it in with what I shot. Um, First thing I would like to say that I critique myself about, that I really didn't take into account going into this, because it was just so much excitement going into just being able to do this event, is not focusing more on steady camming and like having some stability in my shots, because I was shooting handheld, but I did, and that's why I kind of messed up. I brought a tripod slash monopod and I just did not use it. I did not use it at all. If you have one and it has a stable head on it and you can have more control over the tilt and pan, I would say definitely use it. Don't be afraid to use, handheld work. But if you have some type of way to, whether it's a gimbal or, just making sure you're keeping 3 points of contact when shooting, try out your best to get stable shots. Because a lot of my shots, when it was like that fast paced action of, like, I know probably this clip where he kind of, when I switched back from the ESPN shot to him actually catching the ball and running, it looked like it was just so shaky. This is just me looking back on it now. I'm just like, man, like that shot was so shaky. And honestly, you can also say that it wasn't, but I know me, I'm looking at it. It's like when a photographer, if I'm a photographer and I show you a picture, you're like, oh, that's a great shot, but I'm gonna be pixel peeping. I'm like, my focus wasn't really nailed all the way. You see how it's kind of a little out of focus around the eye and stuff, like things like that. It's just stuff like that other creators would notice, but the common person won't. So it's neither here or there. But moving on from that, let's go into our next set of clips. This is that same shot, the touchdown, and I just had this one pumped out real quick for our socials and to have it collaborated with the actual bowl game page. And such a cool shot. If I had one thing that I wish I could have changed about it, let me get the dap up real quick. Yeah, if I could have changed one thing about that shot, I wish I would have switched to, because I also had a regular Micro Four Thirds lens, which was my kit lens for my Lumix G7, which fits on the 4K, which is I think a 15 to 35 or something like that. And I wish I would have, this is in the spur of the moment, so completely understand why I didn't. But I wish I would have switched to it so I could have had a wider view for that celebration shot where you actually like pick them up in the air. Because if you see like right here, this is the full frame. Like this isn't like chopped off or cropped in or nothing. This is the full frame. So his head is kind of like cut off from it, you know. So it's kind of hard to get the full shot. And you know, for the most part, it's usable. It's more than usable. This is the shot that we definitely use. But yeah, I just wish I would have had a wider angle lens on it. But other than that, pretty clean shot. The colors were hitting. Obviously, I love FAMU's helmets because that really bright orange on the Rattler logo, it really pops on camera and it's phenomenal. But yeah, that was a really cool shot. And the great thing about shooting inside of a dome like Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is like I said, the overall theme of this video is the lighting inside that stadium really helps out a lot because coming from somebody who's shot, high school football, D3, D2 college football, high school basketball, things like that where lighting isn't really the best. Being in a professional environment, a professional stadium and building like this where the lighting is above and beyond great, I'm able to have low ISOs to work with. So I have more freedom in post since I'm shooting in RAW to play with different styles and looks and not bringing too much noise into my images. And that's another thing that, like, if you're a creative, and honestly I feel like just regular viewers will be able to see it too. Too much noise in a clip or a picture will turn anybody off if it's just too harsh. So being in an environment where the lighting is just set perfectly, where I don't have to crank my ISO so high because I'm also shooting at f2.8, which is letting more light in, having that ability to just focus on keeping my native ISO around that 200 to 150, maybe 300 area, and we can just roll with that. So didn't have to worry about that at all. Big kudos to Mercedes-Benz for always having great lighting. This shot right here, this is a more stylistic, artsy look. This is me taking this pregame shot. It's gonna be a couple pregame shots within this next clip. And I was just playing around with LUTs that I had just got and just trying to get some more stuff for personal use, because this is Howard. They were playing against Howard University, and this wasn't for us, obviously, because I wasn't shooting for them. So this is more for me, and we just roll these real quick. So yeah, like those shots were really just like, I don't want to say random, but yeah, you can technically say just like a bunch of random clips that I had got before like the game actually started, and I really didn't have any of those on my shot list that I really needed for the recap or anything. Now some of these I did use, like this one right here in the warm-ups. I don't think I used this exact clip, but I know I had some more from when I had this angle before the game started where they were warming up that I did use. But this one in particular didn't really use. Like I said, this was just more for personal use, just to practice with some LUTs and color grading that I was doing. But one thing that I will mention in these clips is you'll see that most of them are shot in slow-mo. Most of them are shot in high frame rates. And like I always tell people who ask me like, oh, what settings do you use? What frame rate do you shoot in? Like, what's the best frame rate for this, for socials, for recap videos, for this and that? I'll put it like this. I like to shoot everything in 24 frames per second. If I'm making a full length video, 24 frames per second, lock it in. If I'm shooting for social media, whether it's Instagram Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, we're still rolling with 24 frames per second. Unless I'm doing something where I'm going to be putting it in slow-mo. Meaning, in camera, on the Blackmagic, there's a setting where you can switch to high frame rate, so I can shoot in the camera in slow-mo instead of having to do it in post. So in the camera, I usually switch to, in Blackmagic's it's kind of different. They don't have 4K 120, but they do have a setting where you can shoot in 2.7K 120 frames per second, which is better than 1080p, but just a step down from 4K. It's like in that middle area. But if it's going to be put out into social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, compression is going to take over anyway. So honestly, having that 2.7 kind of really works on both ends. But shooting football, I recommend 120 frames per second for live action. So play by play, 120 frames per second. You don't have to do it the entire game. I don't recommend doing it the entire game. Switch it up and go back to 24 here and there. But football, I always say 120 frames per second, because since there's so much movement going on, and you know, football is the sport where you really want to be able to slow down time, whether it's a juke move or a really crazy catch, or a running back really just like bust through a lane and just like stiff arm or runs over a bunch of people. You want to really be able to slow that down so you can see the impact of the hit, or you can see how crazy the catch was and stuff like that. Being able to shoot in 120 frames per second gives you the opportunity to do that, because you can really slow down and freeze time so people can focus on the details of that actual play that you just captured. So a lot of these clips that I used in this recap and for these clips that I just showed were in 120 frames per second, 2.7K. And I just say that's really the best point. If your camera can't shoot up to 120 frames per second 4K, which a lot of these new cameras can, and kudos to them, because I don't do that on my build. I have, like I said, it's 2.7K 120, but it hasn't let me down. Let's focus. It hasn't let me down, and I'm still rolling with it, so it's fine with me. But if your camera can't shoot up to 4K 120, 60 frames per second is just fine. 60 frames per second is just fine. You can slow that down in post to, I think, what it's like 40%. And that is enough to still give off that same effect of slowing down, freezing time, being able to show more detail into each shot that you're shooting, because you're slowing it down. Like, you're giving people a chance to really look at the details of the shots. And that's just something that's perfect. And with doing that, shooting high frame rates, I know on my camera, the higher the frame rates go, you got to adjust your aperture, because it's not going to let as much light in. So just make sure you're paying attention to that, especially if you're shooting in RAW. You want to make sure you're lighting your image correctly. But being in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, didn't have to worry about that. It was perfect. 10 out of 10 would recommend. If you could ever shoot inside a Mercedes-Benz Stadium, go for it. Going into the next clip, this by far is one of my favorite clips out of that whole event, and y'all gonna see why. This is right after the game, after ESPN interviewed the head coach, and if you don't recognize him, you'll probably see him on Duke's staff now. I think he is the running back coach, something like that now. He was the head coach for FAMU, won the SWAC championship, won the Celebration Bowl, and was able to get a job at Duke University. So that's who this is. I'll leave his name. But this was right after they won and he hoisted the trophy. This is by far, this is the money shot. This is the shot. I was praying they won, because I said I want to get a championship shot. I want to get a trophy shot, a celebration shot. Like, obviously, get the crowd, get the players and stuff, but like, I want to get the coach lifting up the trophy, and I want to make sure I'm in position for it. I'm there. I'm locked in. I'm not too far away. I don't want to be super close where I can't really see the trophy, but I can just see him. This was perfect. Once you see, just enough of me talking. Just look at it. This was perfect. That clip alone let me know that I was doing something that I was supposed to be doing. I knew at that moment when I got that clip that, like, hey, this this is the career for me, because everybody has had that feeling before where you're doing something you love or something that you really enjoy, but you don't know, like, is this what I'm really supposed to be doing? Like, is this, the career field, the path, the job that I really want to do? When I look back at that clip, and I remember how in that moment it made me feel watching it back. I just felt overwhelmed with joy, because I'm like, yo, I got the shot. Like, I got the shot. It came out just like how I envisioned it in my mind, and I achieved it. Everybody loved it. They was like, yo, this is the one. This is the money shot. And I'm just like, y'all right. I knew it. But that was the great thing about shooting inside a Mercedes-Benz Stadium, is like the ambiance of everything, the confetti, the lighting, the stage, having, all the players around for this celebration moment. Like, you can't really obviously tell it because it's just a reflection, but I'm like right here inside this middle area of all the camera, all the reporters, all the other media people. But yeah, like, I'm right in the middle, because I said I wanted to have like a centered shot. I didn't want to be, off to the side. I didn't want to miss him actually standing in front of ESPN while they were interviewing them and holding the mic to him. Like, you'll see it in this next clip right here where the interview was going on. And like I said, I wanted to be like right front and center, but I didn't want to be too close, because like I said, I didn't have a wide enough lens. But at the same time, the wide lens that I did have was too wide, and I wasn't close enough to not, have everything in focus and in frame to where I'm not really missing anything. So this was shot on the 7200, because I was a little bit further back. So like I said, I was like right here in the middle of all the media people, but the stage was a little bit away. But yeah, I'm right here in the middle. 7200. This is probably like zoomed in to maybe like 120 out of that 200. So clean shot. Everything was perfect. Got the ESPN logo, man. The confetti falling, like everything. This shot was just perfect. I can't stress to you how much this one shot really solidified for me that I was like, I love this career and I really, really want to keep it going. And I that's just facts. So one more clip here. We'll probably just do one more. Let's see what it is. So this was just like another one of those clips that you just have, so the teams and the social media posts can have a little more variety. And this was a celebration shot with a couple of the players laying in the confetti, and I just thought this was really cool. Like, just having fun, just freestyling everything. And outside of that, man, that was really it. So with that being said, y'all, we're gonna wrap it up for this video. And final thoughts, like, I really had fun doing this event and shooting inside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium for the first time, and hopefully not the last time. I highly recommend any chance that you get, whether you're either there as a visitor, a fan, working, playing, like, getting to experience Mercedes-Benz Stadium is a 10 out of 10 would recommend. I had no complaints. There wasn't a single thing. Honestly, I'm thinking now. I can't think of a single thing that I didn't enjoy about being there. Everything was perfect from a creator standpoint, from a videographer standpoint. I have no complaints. But looking back on this event and all the shots that I got, I really had a fun time. Really just taking a step back and letting my creative mind flow, and just going out and doing what I know. I didn't panic. I wasn't flustered. I wasn't overwhelmed by the amount of people in the stadium, things like that. At the end of the day, this was just another day on the job for me. And this was, honestly, to this day, this is the biggest event that I have ever worked. That's no slouch, because I've had a couple of really good opportunities over the past few years, and I will say this was the biggest event that I've worked, outside of maybe the next video that we're gonna drop very soon. This was pretty fun. I had a great time. The shots came out great. The recap video was perfect. I had a blast, man. And that'll do it for this video, y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Like I said, this is my very first video, and take it easy on me. If y'all leave comments, take it easy. I'm just getting my feet wet in this. We're gonna reel it in and be a little more, interactive from now on. We're gonna do more videos. It's not just shorts and reels and all that. But I'm not saying I'm stopping. That's where the money is. Just saying. But until next time, y'all, I had a great time making this video. This is like my third time doing this, but this one is actually gonna get posted. I promise that. Not capping. If I don't, we just gonna record it for a fourth time. But until next time, y'all, thank y'all. It's been TooColeSports. We out.